this is Dustin with Dustin's Dollars. Today I'm going to be talking through Tellurian's 2023 Q1 quarterly results that were just released today. I just got to look at these about an hour ago, so this is going to be a bit more off the cuff. I don't have as many graphs graphs prepared like I normally do, but I'm going to go through it today. Before I begin, let me remind you that I'm not a financial advisor or a financial professional of any sort. All opinions I express in this video are mine and do not represent those of any company or any other individual. I currently hold a long position in Tellurian, so this video should be for entertainment purposes only, because I could be wrong about everything I say in this video. You need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. All right, so quick notes that I took going through these results. I'm going to try to keep it brief. Earnings this quarter were, pretty bad. I think the revenue is roughly cut in half quarter over quarter due to low gas prices. But, if you've been paying any attention, you probably already knew that. Hi, Transient Stacker. Thanks for hopping on the stream. So it looks like they sold at about an average price of $2.63 per MMBTU. Their operating expenses were roughly close enough to flat since last quarter. I think these development expenses were down. I think we can expect that to go down even further from today's video from Sharif Suki. He basically said, yeah, gas prices are down. We're not going to do any more development. We're pausing on that. We're just going to produce what we have, with the wells we've already got. But, I think these expenses should go down even more in the throughout the rest of the year. One other thing I noticed, if you look down here, their amount of hedges, 4.5. Yeah, so their amount of hedges was down almost a half of what it was at the end of the year. I think at the end of the year was almost 10 BCF of volume that they had hedged. Now it is at the end of March, it was down to 4.5 BCF. So that, this might mean that some of those future quarters have less, realized value from these hedges. Because if you look back up here, you can see they did actually, that's the vast majority of this $12 million of other income, I believe, was from those hedges that they had that they, closed out in Q1. So that actually helped quite a bit this quarter, right? If you look at $51 million of actual gas sales and then $12 million primarily from, I think, closing those hedges and realizing those gains, that's actually almost a quarter, almost 25% boost. So that was pretty good. Moving on to the balance sheet, they did pay back the debt. They made a big deal about that. They paid back the, 1/3 of the $500 million of convertible notes. So, that was good to see. Although, as of now, their overall liquidity is looking worse. You do have to hope going forward that their stock price goes up and some of those actually get converted rather than paid. Because Tellurian does actually need this cash at the moment. One other thing, and I should say, their liquidity being worse shouldn't have surprised anyone. You could see it coming a mile away when the stock is down and, gas prices are down. They had to pay back that debt, so they are where they are right now. It's certainly not a bad position at the moment, right? It's one where it's a bit risky as we look forward a year and they have to make that next big payment. But as of right now, things are they're still fine. And they haven't actually diluted. The filing goes through April 25th. If you look all the way here at the top, it says as of April 25th, there were about 563 million shares of common stock outstanding. So they really haven't diluted at all. They have that at the money offering, sitting there, and they can use it, but they haven't yet. So that was to some degree good to see that they're not diluting at these low prices. If driftwood happens and the stock price goes up, then those could get a lot more money for their shares, and I'm sure that's going through their heads as well. Now, in terms of driftwood, let's go on down to cash flow statement, and we can see, they continued spending on driftwood, right? $62.5 million of development expenses for driftwood. Unsurprising there, we know they're continuing that, and that's their one of their large priorities at the moment to continue construction. Now, a couple other things related to driftwood. March 2024 is the new March 2023. If you look at the change order that they had attached to this 10Q, in the past, they had this basically deadline in here of when Tellurian would sort of escalate in terms of the fee that they're paying for being late for issuing their notice to proceed. And previously the date had been March 31st, 2023. So, going back a year, there's been some, sort of speculation on the parts of folks like myself that maybe they have a plan, they're going to get something done by, the end of Q1 2023. Obviously, they did not issue their notice to proceed, and this date has actually been extended by a year to March 1st, 2024. So if you want to continue the speculation, now March of 2024 is your new date. One other update from the new presentation they filed today: the prior numbers for how much of phase one Tellurian was intending to sell or looking to sell in order to secure this $4.5 billion of project equity. Previously, I believe they said 35 to 40%. I think at some point we heard, 40 to 45%. I think Sharif Suki said that at some point in a video. It at least was a higher number than what was in the presentation. Now we're seeing this number escalate even further to 45 to 55% of equity in phase one of Driftwood. So, that's not great to see, but it is what it is. At this point, I think they can probably still make the numbers work, and, they get the project off the ground. And then if they're able to actually fund future phases through cash flows, this can still end up being, not that big of a deal in the long term. Although in the short term, short term meaning a couple of years, this might still have a pretty material difference in terms of what as the amount of phase one that they start selling increases. 55% is a lot, where Tellurian wouldn't even own half of phase one. So that, that's something to look out for. And it makes a material difference in terms of your calculations of, your discounted cash flows and what the value of the stock should be. One other thing they did note today is they did add 3,000 acres in Q1 of upstream acreage. And in the video, he even said that they intend to add 10,000 acres this year and 10,000 acres next year, which may end up being a great move since gas prices are down right now. I imagine they're able to acquire that acreage pretty cheap. Again, in the context of the outcomes here, it's going to be pretty binary based on whether Driftwood gets moving or not. I ran a couple numbers. I'm not going to present it here because it's pretty rough, but I think for the year, even for the current Henry Hub prices, if they cut those development expenses for the gas properties down to effectively zero, I think they're going to be about flat in terms of cash flow if you just consider their upstream operations and their just general corporate expenses. Then on top of that, you have sort of the interest that they're paying. That's a drag on cash. And then you have everything they're spending on Driftwood itself. And so all of that is going to be drawing down their actual cash that they have on the balance sheet. So, I think as of right now, looking forward, it's all just going to come down to, in the short term, are they able to get Driftwood financed or not? If they're able to actually seal some deal, this is going to solve a lot of problems for them. If they don't, they are going to be in a much tougher position, frankly, 9 to 12 months from now when they have to make that next big payment on those convertible notes. And I think either one of three things is going to happen, right? Either they're going to get Driftwood going, and that's going to higher share price fixes a lot of things, or gas prices could go back up. And those cash flows from their upstream operations could grow significantly, or they're going to probably have to dilute quite a bit in order to be able to pay back next year's convertibles. And I know that's not really a great thing to think about. Nobody wants that, but it sort of calls out and makes it a very sharp what the risk is that we have with this company right now. I mean, I'm personally still holding my shares at the moment, but I think the risk should be apparent to anybody who is in the stock. A couple other tiny tidbits, just if you stuck around this long and you care about the company, it lent out another $18 million in this note receivable. This is the same entity. They talked about this, I think it was in Q4, where they lent them money. This is an unaffiliated entity engaged in the development of infrastructure projects in the energy industry. They originally, I think, lent them about $6 million. Now they lent them another $18 million. And originally it was due in 2024, if I recall correctly. They extended it all the way to 2031. So, I mean, personally, I'm not very happy about this. They don't give any transparency. They don't reference it anywhere, in any other communications that I can tell. And I don't think it's a time where they should be giving away their cash to anyone else, considering they themselves are not exactly flowing with liquidity. So it's really hard to understand why they're doing this at the moment. I won't speculate any further than that as of right now. Yeah, that is basically everything that I had to go through today. Like I said, I just got to look at about an hour ago. Those are my takeaways from this so far. I did want to keep the stream hopefully short. My recent ones have been going super long, so that was all I had. All right, I don't see anything new on the chat, and I probably should keep this one short because it's just really going over the Q1 earnings. So thank you very much, Train Saint Stack, for having the stream. Anybody else who's here, again, I still haven't figured out how to get these. I think my app needs updated or something, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you very much.